This episode of the All About Nothing podcast is sponsored by listeners like you and Big Media LLC, encouraging you to check your voter registration. In a world where every voice counts, ensuring your registration is accurate and up to date is the simplest, most effective way to guarantee your vote is heard. Don't leave your participation to chance. Take a moment today and verify your status and stay ready for the next election by visiting theallaboutnothing.com/voter. Welcome, everyone, to the All About Nothing podcast kind of daily show. I am Barrett Gruber, host of the All About Nothing podcast. You can follow me across all of social media at Barrett Gruber. If you want to participate in the show, please do us a favor, leave a comment, maybe subscribe, follow us wherever it is you're watching or listening to us. We would really appreciate it. The show today, I have to admit, we're pretty much in absolute chaos right now. American life would probably cause most of us to cry, but, you know, crying's dehydrating and most of us can't afford to buy water anymore. So before we get into the day's headlines, and we do have headlines today, I want to shout out the latest episode of our show, the All About Nothing podcast, where I sat down with Jenny Desch, who is running for South Carolina House District 26. We talked about her campaign, her vision for the district, and what it is that actually takes to challenge power at a local level. The episode is out now. Go check it out. Share it, subscribe, do all the things. Also just dropped a new episode of Black, White, and Blue in the South. They've been running on some incredible highlights from previous episodes. So if you haven't been listening to the show, now is the perfect time to get caught up. All the links are in the show notes. Go listen. Again, share, tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell someone who needs to hear it. And, stick around for the rest of this episode. So let's get into it because today has it has a little bit of everything. But let's go back to yesterday. Yesterday was Flag Day, June 14th, the 250th birthday of American independence. Oh, wait, no, that's the 4th of July. So yesterday we celebrated the UFC 250, which was Flag Day. But I don't feel like that actually got most of the attention because yesterday was the 80th birthday of Donald J. Trump. Now, when most people turn 80, maybe they get a nice dinner, maybe their grandkids make them a card, maybe they take a little nap at 4 p.m., which honestly, mad respect for. But Donald Trump, yeah, he turned 80 by hosting a UFC fight on the White House lawn. And I want you to sit with that. On the south lawn of the White House, which is technically public property, which is technically your lawn, the Trump administration erected a 92-foot steel structure called the Claw. The Claw. It's like someone merged WWE, the 4th of July, and a very aggressive car dealership into one $60 million spectacle. And yes, $60 million. Paid for by TKO Holdings, the UFC's parent company, in which, by the way, Trump's brokerage account happens to own shares in. But we're told there's no conflict of interest. Sure, the man's investing in the company, hosting a party for his birthday at his house. But sure, there's no conflict. No reason to feel insecure. There were red carpets with red and blue stars. Dana White was there. Melania was there. Crypto.com logos were everywhere. There were Ronald Reagan excerpts from speeches made. There was a Bud Light. Well, there were multiple Bud Lights, but there was Bud Light there, which is funny because I thought MAGA boycotted Bud Light. But apparently when the president needs a sponsor, the boycott takes a night off. Tens of thousands of fans from the Ellipse watched. Fighters entered from the inside the White House. Now, a federal lawsuit was filed to stop this, arguing the National Park Service couldn't just hand over public grounds to a private company without congressional approval. The judge was like, proceed. Because nothing says America 250 like bypassing legislation or bypassing legislative oversight for a pay-per-view event. Trump said at one point he was joking when he suggested they might never take the claw down, which It's a bold strategy. Just leave it. Turn the Rose Garden into a permanent octagon, which then we can have the State of the Union address just be a best of 5. Oh, and also hours before the first punch was even thrown, Trump announced a tentative peace deal with Iran. More on that in just a minute, but just know that he managed to end a war and watch people kick each other in the balls for his birthday. That's the presidency we're living in, folks. Happy Flag Day. Let's bring it back home to South Carolina, the Palmetto State, God's country, apparently, as long as God's a registered Republican. Last Tuesday, June 9th, South Carolina held its Republican primary for governor. 6 candidates ran. None got more than 50% of the vote. So now we're going to a runoff on June 23rd, and it's between Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette and State Attorney General Alan Wilson. Here's where it gets fun, because these two candidates are so similar that distinguishing them between them is like trying to figure out which bowl of unseasoned rice is really exciting. We'll start with Pamela Evette. She has endorsed herself as, quote, a staunch Trump conservative. She has Trump's full endorsement. Trump called her an American first patriot who is and who has been with him from the very beginning. Her platform, basically, eliminate state income tax, create a government efficiency department. Yes, because DOGE worked out perfectly in the federal arena. Redistrict, restrict abortion, and align entirely with Donald Trump on literally everything. Her strategy to win this runoff is basically just attack Alan Wilson for accepting an 126% pay raise, which, okay, fair hit, except the raise was part of a legislator-led review of all constitutional officers, their pay. Wilson didn't ask for it. He was given it. That's like being mad at your kid for accepting a birthday present they didn't ask for. She's also attacking him on no-bid contracts to friendly law firms. So she's trying to paint Alan Wilson as a corrupt insider while running to be the next insider. I got it. Now, Alan Wilson, son of Congressman Joe Wilson, and yes, that is Joe Wilson, the "you lie" guy from Obama's State of the Union. Alan Wilson is literally the political offspring of the most famous heckler in congressional history. I guess when you take out Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and 99% of the sitting Republican Congress during Joe Biden's term. Sure. Anyway, that's Alan Wilson's lineage. Alan Wilson is literally the political offspring of Joe Wilson, and that's his brand. Wilson has been Attorney General for over 15 years. He gained national fame from the Alex Murdaugh trial. That's the double case, murder case that the whole country was obsessed with. He got the conviction, and then the state Supreme Court overturned it due to jury tampering. So Wilson's biggest claim to fame is a conviction that got thrown out. It's not ideal. His campaign slogan is "Make South Carolina Affordable Again." He just took Trump's slogan, crossed out America, and wrote in South Carolina. That's it. That's the whole thing. No notes. Both candidates anti-abortion beyond the current 6-week ban? No, they're not going to go there because polling says it's bad. Both candidates want to eliminate the state income tax, which sounds great until you have to consider what roads and schools are paid with. Both candidates say they support Trump, but both candidates have essentially the same platform. The question for South Carolina Republicans on June 23rd is, which shade of beige do you prefer? Meanwhile, Nancy Mace, who gave up her congressional seat to run for governor, remember that, came in third, eliminated, gone. She gave up a safe House seat for this. She backed Trump before the endorsement. She pushed for the Epstein files, and she still got left out in the cold when Trump backed Evette at the last minute. Nancy Mace quit her job for literally nothing, which I don't enjoy saying it, but it is right there. The real winner of the South Carolina Republican primary It's the state Democratic Party who quietly watched 6 Republicans spend months attacking each other so that they can coast into a runoff to get a clear nominee. Meanwhile, Jermaine Johnson won the Democratic primary with nearly 60% of the vote. He's ready. The Republicans are just getting started being nasty to each other. So, popcorn. Make sure you grab the popcorn. Let's jump over to the Middle East because, things aren't bad enough, but specifically the U.S. war with Iran, which began on February 28th of this year when the United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes across Iran. And if you're keeping score at home, you should be. Here's a brief timeline of Donald Trump's relationship with the phrase peace deal. June 25th, after the United States attacked Iran to destroy their nuclear facilities, Trump announced that there was a complete and total ceasefire immediately afterwards because we had obliterated their potential to ever create nuclear weapons. February, of course, we went to war. By March, there was already talks of a potential ceasefire. In April, more talks about a ceasefire. That ceasefire collapsed. Talks in Pakistan failed. Also in April, Trump announced that an open-ended ceasefire extension and continued to have the U.S. blockade the Strait of Hormuz. In May, more talks of ceasefires that never took ceasefires, and then they would collapse. In June, we had more ceasefires, but they's collapsed. June 13th, Trump said that we're very close to a deal. And then on Trump's birthday, he announced the deal is complete. He announced that Iran and the U.S. have reached an agreement that the Strait of Hormuz will reopen. Peace in our time. Also, there's a UFC fight happening in his backyard at the moment. Now, here's what makes all of this beautiful. Israel is our closest ally in this conflict, the country that we are still in this war with. They struck Beirut, Lebanon, hours before the deal was supposed to be signed on Trump's birthday, while the world was watching men punch each other in the nose on the White House lawn. Trump, absolutely furious, went to Truth Social and did what he did and told Israel the attack should not have happened, particularly on a special day. A special day. He said it was a special day. That special day being, for context, his 80th birthday and not, say, the international importance of a peace deal in the Middle East. Iran's parliament speaker immediately said, and I'm paraphrasing, but America either doesn't have the will to fulfill its commitments or it doesn't have the ability. That's Iran doing diplomacy with a pretty sick burn. J.D. Vance went on Fox News, as one does, and said, after the Israelis struck Beirut, we were very worried. He said Iran assured them that they wouldn't respond to the Israeli strike and would still sign the deal. And they did, apparently. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif announced the deal, which is an interesting sentence saying the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts was declared. The official signing ceremony will be scheduled or is scheduled for June 19th in Switzerland. Details still are to be worked out in a 60-day period on Iran's nuclear program, frozen Iranian assets, sanctions relief, all of the easy stuff. Now, to be clear, if this deal holds, it's significant. Ending a war is significant. But let's be honest. We have to be honest about what we watched in real time. A president who announced multiple ceasefires that didn't hold while simultaneously waging the war while Israel kept bombing Lebanon every time we got close to something. While Trump berated Netanyahu in expletive-laden phone calls while somehow, the signing was timed so that it landed on Trump's birthday in the U.S. time zone just barely after midnight in Iran because Tehran didn't want to give him the birthday gift of a peace deal. Iran, drawing the line at being used as a birthday present. Fair enough. The war started February 28th. It's June the 16th as of this recording. That's 3.5 months. And the number of times that Trump declared we were on the verge of peace is a lot. I mean, it's a real lot. And we shall see If the June 19th signing actually happens, I will not be holding my breath, but I will be paying attention. So I do want to be real with you for a minute. We were just talking about South Carolina's governor's runoff on June 23rd. That is a week away. And if you're in South Carolina and you're a voter and you plan to weigh in, whether you're a Democrat watching what happens in the Republican runoff or you've got other races on your ballot, you still need to check your voter registration right now as you're listening to this. Not tomorrow, not the night before, today, right now. And here's why. Voter rolls get purged. Addresses change, you move, life happens, and suddenly election day comes around and you show up and you're not on the list. Don't let that be you. I work the polls. The number of provisional ballots that have to be issued that then have to be upheld in front of a board, it's unnecessary if you just do your due diligence and check your voter registration. In South Carolina, you can go to scvotes.gov. That is South Carolina's official election website where you can verify your registration, check your polling location, and confirm your information is accurate. You can also go to theallaboutnothing.com/voter. Literally do the same thing. Check your voter registration. The runoff is June 23rd. There are races up and down the ballot, statewide, local, judicial. Your vote in a runoff matters more, not less, because turnout is lower. Your voice carries more weight. If you've got family in South Carolina, text them right now. If you've got friends in South Carolina, send them the link. If you're in another state with upcoming primaries or runoffs, again, go to theallaboutnothing.com/voter and check your registration for those elections coming up in your state. Democracy is not a spectator sport. You can't complain about who's in office if you didn't show up. And I need you to show up. Check your voter registration. South Carolina, June 23rd is going to be here before you know it. And then we're going to be moving on towards the elections. And I suggest that everyone check their voter registration weekly. There's no telling what the state is going to do when it comes to purging rolls. So that is going to do it for today's Kind of Daily Show. I'm going to recap on what we talked about. Trump turned 80. He built a $60 million steel claw on the lawn, hosted a UFC fight, and then announced a peace deal with Iran, all in the same 24 hours. South Carolina's Republican governor race is now down to two candidates who agree on almost everything and are fighting over nothing. They're both named something your autocorrect doesn't know how to spell, too. The Iran war may not be over. Israeli definitely didn't help, and the official signing ceremony is June 19th, which I will be watching very closely. And most importantly, check your voter registration. June 23rd, South Carolina runoff. Show up. And before you go, one more time, please go check out the latest episode of the All About Nothing podcast with Jenny Desch as my guest, talking about her campaign for South Carolina House District 26. Local races matter. Legislative seats matter. Go listen and share. And don't sleep on Black, White, and Blue in the South. New episode is out today, and the archive is rich. So start anywhere. Get into it. Really appreciate you all watching, listening. Big thanks to everybody. Don't forget you can follow me at Barrett Gruber across all of social media. Thank you for liking and hitting that bell. And if you can, give us a 5-star review, a like, leave a comment. Until next time, you all stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself. The preceding podcast is solely owned by the host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media, LLC. Copyright 2026. Well, you've made it to the end. You survived the rambling, the tangents, and whatever nonsense we just subjected your ears to. Congratulations. Now that your brain is sufficiently scrambled, how about doing something productive for democracy? Before you go off to forget everything you just heard, do yourself a favor and double-check that your voter registration is actually legit at theallaboutnothing.com/voter. It's about the only way to make sure your vote counts, even if your taste in podcasts is questionable.